Hi ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Genshin Impact. Today we are going to be talking about the lovely and extremely fun YOIMIYA. A character that I am very much enjoying, but I really want to talk about it because boy oh boy is there just a really weird thing happening within the community right now about where she is in terms of her scaling, where she can line up, is she good or bad, whatever it could be. And to tell you guys the truth, it's weird. It's weirding me out because people are asking questions and getting weird answers or different answers or just a weird all over the place kind of thing. But let me be very, very clear about what we are going to be talking about in this video today. Is YOIMIYA weak? Okay, that is what we're going to be talking about and trying to answer in this video. I'm not answering, okay, we'll get into the craziness of everything, but yeah, be patient with me. And alas, I have 2 points that I want you guys to, for people who are debating this question, to answer at the end. In order for us to actually get to the bottom of this. But before we do that, can you please give me a little bit of your time just to talk about why I feel like this is just a odd time in the Genshin community, where like questions are not being answered in the way that questions should be answered. They're being answered with like another answer to another question entirely. So one of the things is people come to streams, to YouTube videos and say, is YOIMIYA weak? And people say, well guys, YOIMIYA is really fun. And I'm like, what? What are you what? Or people say, is YOIMIYA bad? And then people are like, well actually guys, you shouldn't pick based on an outcome or basically a power advantage. And then people bring up the whole like meta slave argument and then like a funds, again, it's like you're not answering the question, you're answering a question that is the answer to another question that the person did not ask, okay? Which to me, I'm like, what? Okay, this is weird. It's like a mass delusion thing happening here. Another thing that I've heard saying, and we're going to go through all of these kind of questions, but another thing I've heard people say, just so I'm going to try to get to your guys' debates or arguments or discussions on your points, for people who think YOIMIYA is really, really strong. For those guys couldn't tell, I'm in the camp that I think YOIMIYA, we'll get into it, but I'm on the other camp for sure. I've also heard the point of view where people are talking about that, well, YOIMIYA is actually she requires a lot of team help. I've also heard the argument of, well, YOIMIYA needs specific kind of weapons, yada yada yada, which are all interesting discussions, but the one that is just has me fucking lost, my guy, is the comparison argument, where people are saying, well no, you can't compare YOIMIYA to this character, to that character, to this character, and you guessed it, to that character. And to me, I'm just kind of lost, and we'll talk about it in a minute, about how to me the whole like, why can't we compare kind of thing. And of course, I will give you, we shouldn't compare her to Ganyu. Sure, she's too much. She's like, Ganyu should not be the bar for anything, right? Sure, I'll give you at least that. But sure as shit, everything else should be fair game. All right, so let's draw some lines in the sand. This is the kind of crazy that's happening within the community today. I am not, when I say YOIMIYA is bad or YOIMIYA is weak, I am not saying, I'm gonna repeat, I am not saying that she is not fun to play or usable. Okay? I feel like people are having separate conversations. People ask, is she good or bad? And people throw in well, she's really fun to play and I'm having a good time, and if you're a meta player, then maybe she's not for you. And I'm like, you're not answering the question. You're being disingenuous. So yes, we're not talking about the fun factor of the character, okay? We're talking about where she compares or measures up to everybody else, and that's the other criticism. Again, YOIMIYA, you can't compare her to XYZ. I cannot live in this world that's insane, where you cannot compare characters that are supposed to be in the same categories as the other characters and saying, no, you can't compare them. It's a psychotic argument. But I'm entirely open for the idea of what is a fair comparison. I feel like we shouldn't compare, like, you know, a support character to a DPS character. So here's a question. Why do we compare things in general? Are we comparing the fun factor? No, we're comparing the strength / the weakness or the strength of the character or the unit or whatever. Okay, now some people's barometer for is a character good is, can she clear most of the content in the game? That's the flat line. And that is, to me, a really flawed comparison argument, because any character, Amber can clear everything in the game. Chi-Chi can clear everything in the game. Barbara can clear everything in the game. You know how? If you gave her some decent supports, and they can literally clear everything it's a ridiculous sense. So like, okay, I guess Amber never needs it, never ever needed a buff, right? Because clear is fucking shit. It just doesn't make sense. So that argument is fully flawed because every character in the game can clear all the content in the game if you invest in them enough and you give them enough supportive characters that basically patch some of the giant weaknesses within their kit. Well, it turns out if you get a lot of support DPSs and you throw them behind Barbara, sure as shit you're gonna be okay. Like, what? So that argument to me does not work. If that is the case, then there is no balance ever, because again, as long as you get a good enough, if you get lucky enough on a weapon banner and get a 5-star weapon with good enough rolls, it can make any character be good, then yeah, any character, no matter where they measure up to anything else, will be good. So the only metric you can measure strength by is the characters that you can also use. You understand? We're not talking about fun fact. You can have a great time with Barbara, and I'm not gonna come for you. That's subjective. What's not subjective is damage numbers and ease of access to attain damage numbers. So for me, a proper thing is to compare them to other units that are in at least their same category. For people who are gonna come for me, MiHoYo themselves, in their YOIMIYA banner card, have listed YOIMIYA as such. YOIMIYA is a burst damage dealer. She can deal pyro damage to opponents with her blazing arrows when casting her elemental skill and mark opponents with her elemental burst, coordinating with other party members to deal pyro damage to them when she leaves the field. Okay. So again, she's a DPS, and again, she's a classic burst DPS, except now there's a little bit more incentive on top for when you leave the battlefield. So even more than Hu Tao, she is requiring you to leave the battlefield. But regardless, she falls in the category as a burst DPS. Now let's define that category. Why even put the burst damage dealer there as a defining aspect? Because you have a limited time to deal an abundance of damage. Why the fuck? Otherwise, she would just be a damage dealer. So she can deal damage within a burst. Okay. So one of the biggest problems with YOIMIYA is that her burst damage, her massive surge of burst damage, which has to be on cooldown, is the same as other characters that don't have that requirement, and also can go even further with the same investment as that character. We're kind of getting into my other points here. Forgive me, we're jumping ahead a little bit. So yes, YOIMIYA, by definition, by MiHoYo, is a burst damage dealer. So we need to compare her to other burst damage dealers, correct? Great. Well, the Xiaos and the Hu Taos, people keep telling me that you can't compare them. And I feel like I'm taking crazy pills, okay? Because I'm like, why can't we compare these two? It feels weird in general. Again, if you're comparing, your argument is that you can do everything else in the game, it's a bad argument because you do everything else in the game with every other character. So if you have that argument, then you can no longer say that Amber needs a buff or any character ever needs a buff. Unless they add some like god tier next level content within the game. So yeah, your whole argument about buffing any character, if this is your argument, is tremendously flawed. So hopefully we can agree that you need to compare other characters to units around them. Okay? Give me a second, let me sip on some coffee, losing it. Alright, here we go. Back to Crazy Town. So now that we've established many times over that we can compare YOIMIYA to both burst damage dealers and maybe even damage dealers, right? Because like, to me, honestly, burst damage dealers are above normal damage dealers in the sense that they only can have damage for a short amount of time, so it better be damn fucking good, right? So first, let's compare her to other characters like Xiao and mainly Hu Tao, which to me I think she is more fairly placed in. Now, with that being said, there is a slight hiccup here. Hu Tao, incredibly selfish, has no supportive cycling ability, correct? Correct. YOIMIYA has her elemental burst, which allows anybody but her to detonate said ability, yes? And also, to be fair to YOIMIYA, you have range damage, okay? So YOIMIYA, good points, YOIMIYA, range damage, and has an ability that is a support alt, okay? But again, we're gonna talk about the fact that YOIMIYA has nothing to help herself. She has no interruption resistance, so she's gonna get fucking just flatlined and all of these other things anyways. And her main thing is the damage, okay? So We have Hu Tao. Her positives are that she basically does a absolute fuck ton of damage. Just stupid, nutty, disgusting levels of damage, okay? Also, her ult synergizes with her weakness itself, okay? So her ult allows her like lacking of or needing to be low health. If you get really too close to the wire, you can use her ult and heal up a bunch and be okay, and then repeat the cycle. So she feeds perfectly and intrinsically works within herself. All right, with the exception of maybe needing a shield or a healer or maybe Shincho to help her out in the slightest. But you know one thing that really puts them apart? Their charge ability. I'm gonna say it again. Their charge ability, okay? What the fuck happened? Okay? What is going on? I feel like I'm a psychotic mental person. What happened to YOIMIYA's charge attack, my guy? I'm utterly lost. If YOIMIYA's charge attack had any bite, then I feel like it would start lessening the gap, even though the gap, in my opinion, is still fucking insane, and we'll talk about that in 1 minute. Hu Tao, if she just did her basic melee hits, would still supersede by a lot YOIMIYA's damage, but she has to get a melee, which is a weird argument because most things just dive bomb you in this game, but fuck it. Let's just say that's the case. Range is mad powerful, whatever. And it's not like a good way to patch the negatives of range is, oh, I don't know, adding a taunt on you. Anyways, when Hu Tao does her charge attack, that is when she starts hitting shit really, really, really hard. And then when I started to see YOIMIYA in the test run, in all of these things, or like the story mission test run, all of these things, I was assuming that her charge attack, because it has 3 projectiles, meaning it's not able to dip into vaporize, means it would scale up its damage on a base. No, my dude, they went the other way for no fucking reason. So okay, we're getting kind of like a shitstorm of this. So here's the other big metric that is in the whole comparison realm, and this is honestly the other question that I have when it comes to YOIMIYA. If you were to give any, and I repeat, any character, well, not any character, the characters within the same comparison that we're doing. So damage dealers and burst damage dealers, if you want to get super specific, sure. If you were to give the same level of investment that you gave to YOIMIYA, which is like 207 or 270, I've seen 240 we've gotten in the test run. If you were to give any person that degree of crit rate to crit damage conversion with a pyro goblet and with their elemental damage dealing goblet or whatever, they would fucking annihilate things, superseding YOIMIYA's damage by so much. And maybe your argument is that YOIMIYA has a support draw to her. If that is the scaling, I would agree with you, because I don't think every character should be Ganyu. I don't think every character should be spread out in this like they're great at everything kind of thing. But even if we're talking about Zhongli post-update, post-buff, he had an amazing ult that just locked things down and had a good bit of damage. Also, it was a utility element. Great. He also had a shield that, even if they didn't give him like the weird buff that they gave him with the new artifact set that was eventually going to come down the pipeline, the Millilith set, he would have still been absolutely nuts and been able to dominate 2 areas of his skill's utility. The burst ultimate that fucking smashes, and then the support capability of his shield. All right, now having his shield now debuffs stuff, that's just fun. Makes him kind of like a step above the rest. Awesome. But if you look at the power of Zhongli's shield before anything, and you look at the power of Zhongli's meteor, and then you look at the way power is distributed within YOIMIYA, it's still not like if you have 100% power in Zhongli and you were to put it into YOIMIYA, she somehow got shaved off 40% of that power, where her main damage can be pretty good. Again, guys, when you are seeing 17k on a normal hit, look at their crit damage. If you were to give any character, even a fucking 4-star character, a 247 or 230 crit damage, they will eviscerate supersede YOIMIYA's damage by a whole lot. Now, yes, she is ranged, and yes, she has 1 support ability. My argument is that her support ability ain't that good, and the other argument is that her main damage ain't that good. And the other thing is, every gameplay that you guys are seeing throughout the course of this week has had the most leverage any character can leverage in the game, and people are still saying, well, she's a B or C, or A or B. You know what I mean? So you have an artifact set that gives you 50% bonus damage. You have a weapon that gives you 80% more damage. Or if you have the 5-star weapon, you get crit damage and all that shit. And you have good crit scaling in your substats, and you've leveled up her talents. Like, what are we talking about? What are we doing, my guy? You have super invested and super leveraged damage at every possible place in the YOIMIYA system, and she still is a good DPS. Like, what are we talking about? Anyway. Okay, I apologize. That was a part of my rant, or like just, you know, kind of being over it kind of situation. Forgive me. Let's get back to the comparison and stuff. Okay, so we just talked about Hu Tao, and again, people, my core argument for YOIMIYA, to tell you the truth, is if you give any character that has the same like investment that you gave to YOIMIYA, which a lot of these videos, as much as content creators preach a lot of things and then don't do them, such as don't wish on the weapon banner, here's gameplay of YOIMIYA with the 5-star weapon. And you're like, what the fuck? And then they're like, yeah, she's pretty okay. It's like, so you want me to wish on the weapon banner is what I'm hearing. You're like, what the fuck? So again, if you were to give a character a 5-star weapon that supersedes specifically the damage that character deals, okay? And you were to give them an artifact set that gives you, just by the artifact set bonus, 50% more damage, okay? And you were to give great substats in that artifact set that gives you a shit ton of critical damage to the efficiency level of 270, and then use that same, and then also like maxing out her talents. I've seen people do all of this stuff. You do all of that, and you give that to any other character that is even slightly in the realm of YOIMIYA, they will fucking annihilate her on every possible metric. So again, the argument that I've heard kind of around is you can't compare her to Hu Tao, because, you know, Hu Tao is melee based. She has a charge ability that lets her fly like 3 or like 20 feet or something crazy. You can cover a lot of ground with her charge attack. Also, you can infinitely spam her charge attack if you have her C1. This cannot be said for YOIMIYA. You cannot times 100 your damage if you have C1 of YOIMIYA like you can C1 of Hu Tao. But I digress. Let's not talk about constellations, even though I still think it's a ludicrous argument in general. But people could be like, well, Hu Tao is like meant to be just a pure main DPS, and YOIMIYA has that alt that is one of the worst support damage alts in the game. Yeah, but the point being is that she has it, so therefore her other things should get halved, and also her charge attack just doesn't need to exist. Sure. Okay. What the fuck? Insanity. Let's talk about another character that is, in my opinion, very, very synergistic to some extent with YOIMIYA. Except that, and I will give you that she's not a burst damage dealer, but I would argue if you give YOIMIYA how much YOIMIYA has, like, what, 10 minutes of uptime, or 8 minutes of uptime, or 8 seconds, sorry, 8 seconds of uptime. If you were to give Yenfei, forgive me, the same amount of time to deal damage, and you gave her the same amount of investment that you gave to your YOIMIYA, I bet she would absolutely eviscerate by a margin that takes away YOIMIYA's support alt. Which people, again, keep arguing, like, well, maybe her alt is a support alt. Why is it so fucking bad then? If she is, like, supposed to be like a cycling character, why is her burst ultimate fucking nothing? It does 10k to 7k damage if you don't, especially consider, it might be good, her alt might be good, but you're trading off so much damage from her basic E that you couldn't even really use her E besides applying fire, and it's single target, so it's even a poor application of fire. Anywho, my thing is, if you give the same level of investment that you gave to YOIMIYA, giving them like stupid level crack stats with fully level descended talents and all this crazy shit to Yenfei, I think she would slap, and she's a 4-star character. Now, yes, the only argument against Yenfei is that YOIMIYA gives people the ability to detonate something. My other argument is, cool, even if you take that into account, YOIMIYA's damage would still fucking kick Yenfei's damage in the throat like 6 times over. You understand? Hi, me here. Again, I just wanted to add some more things. Basically, there's some other things I noticed about YOIMIYA that to me are just fucking brutal, like absolutely brutal, that most characters don't have to worry about. Interruption, my guy. The amount of times, if the character's whole premise is that you need to constantly be in a flow state delivering damage, and she doesn't do a lot of damage, but she does a lot of attacking, then sure as shit, being interrupted is a big oof. Now maybe that's why Diona was in her banner. Sure, but if you use Diona, you are losing other things. You are not able to run other support DPSs like Bidos and such, or Bennett's that can massively supercharge your damage as well. So if the argument is you need to now implement a shield character, well great, but that means her damage shouldn't need that much help, which it does. Anywho, again, YOIMIYA generally speaking is a jack of all trades, master of none. My only argument is that she is, like, if you were to take the same level of investment that, like, before patch Zhongli had, and distribute the same level of power scaling to YOIMIYA, for whatever reason, it's not the same. It's not like the jack of all trades is nullified greatly. Her ult should bite a little harder. Her charge attack should have some utility. It shouldn't just be sitting there doing nothing. I digress.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen, just real quick, a better comparison. Also, forgive me for getting a little hot and spicy right now. I'm kind of like getting really into it. Sorry, but anyways, a thing that I would like to mention for like the jack of all trades kind of comparison is Jean. Jean is an amazing damage dealer, but also she's amazing at healing. Also, she can cleanse you. Also, she just does more stuff because she's also a support element. So her elements, she can use Veritas and Veneer and just massively help your team out in general with all of those things. So it's not like you can't be the jack of all trades, master of none. My argument is just that the scaling for YOIMIYA, for whatever reason, is like minus 40% of other characters such as Jean or Zhongli before patch. And then the other thing, this is the other argument I've heard for YOIMIYA, is just a different kind of character that people aren't used to doing stuff with. Like, you need to build a team around YOIMIYA. YOIMIYA is very team-centered. Now, by the way, I'm not coming after anybody who's having these conversations, but my answer to that is my original second question, which is, if you were to give any character the same level of care and investment that you're giving to your YOIMIYA support team, the other support would be amazing. Again, swap YOIMIYA out for Yanfei, and tell me that it's not going to destroy that much better. And also you can run other characters that can support, because yeah, and I probably should have mentioned this, by the way, at the beginning of the video, so forgive me for this, but some of you guys may be like, Grin, you're really fucking putting the coals on YOIMIYA's feet, being a real McA-hole about it. Forgive me if that's the way it's sounding, but I'm just trying to genuinely answer the question that I think so many people have been dodging and all of these things. But for those guys who are curious, I am going to super invest. I'm probably going to triple crown YOIMIYA. I triple crown Razor, my guy. I don't do the meta thing. But if people are genuinely asking a question for whether something is worth anything or not, then I think you should answer the goddamn question, not answering it with another question like, well, she's fun, or if you're a meta slave, then you should do it. Hi guys, I'm gonna probably squeeze this in somewhere. I just remembered one other thing I heard, which is interesting. People say that YOIMIYA is a character that is going to be unleashed when you get another character. Which to me is already a weak argument, because it's like, well, wait, what? I need to get a whole other character, and they may be a 5-star, and it might be well, we know people say it's Ball. We know that Ball's coming. People are saying that Ball is going to perfectly synergize within YOIMIYA. When I see Ball's kit, I get what people are saying, because yeah, but YOIMIYA's biggest hindrance is Elemental Mastery's cooldown. Elemental Mastery fights tooth and nail. Any character that supercharges or super outputs a fire element is weakened because they don't perfectly synergize with the Elemental Mastery, because there is a 2-second cooldown on the element. So if they wanted to try to balance this by giving YOIMIYA like 1 second of elemental reaction or whatever, this would help. I don't think that's the way to fix her, or even to like help with some of the problems that she has, but yes, this is a fundamental flaw within the high DPS or high fire rate characters, specifically within elemental problems. You can kind of get a lot farther with super conduct and physical damage and attack and stuff like that, white damage numbers, because there's no weird cooldown of an application, unlike physical damage. So I kind of get what people are saying when they say like that Ball is going to really help YOIMIYA. I don't think it solves the problem of her over applying an element, because her fire rate is just what it is. So I don't know if that's going to solve it. I do think it will just be like, why wouldn't you use Hu Tao and Ball and not YOIMIYA and Ball? You know what I mean?
or Yenfei and Ball, and if you wanted to be like super ranged, Yenfei and Ball, and just do that, and then also not have this weird like you could play both for as long as you would need to play. You wouldn't be like, oh fuck, Ball's not ready, so I guess I'll just like wait, or I guess I'll just quickly try to like just hover until I'm ready to use Ball. You just keep using Yenfei until Ball is ready to fucking rock. You know what I mean? So like I was saying, I have 3 questions. Again, if you're still on the fence with YOIMIYA, that I would love for you to answer, and these are kind of the core cruxes of my argument slash discussion. I don't think it's really an argument, it's just my kind of thoughts on this whole discussion at large. Answering the question, is YOIMIYA weak? So the first thing is, in 2 months, where do you think YOIMIYA will sit in terms of all of the 5 stars? Do you think she will be sub 50% or below 50% of the 5 stars? So if you divide them in half, where do you think she'll land? Again, I think it's fair to compare them to other characters in their unit slash DPSs, all that stuff. So where would you place YOIMIYA in terms of DPSs for the 5 stars? Okay, I think it's also another fair argument. I don't think she breaches the first 3. I asked my stream this the other day, and they said that I think she's probably on the same playing field maybe as Keqing. I think it goes Qiqi, YOIMIYA, and then Keqing, because I've seen Keqing do some fucking stupid numbers. Also, she's a support element, so you can use her E as just a quick teleport and slap, and yeah, and in a weird way, she I think is a more scalable, better DPS than other characters. And again, I would argue that like characters like Jean can do everything really well. Jean's an amazing example of the jack of all trades, master of none, but she does the things that she does do really, really well. She heals, she cleanses, she can deal fucking good big boy damage, she can mass heal your whole team. What else do you want, And she also can weaken enemies to elements, so she's super support. Yeah, you know what I mean? So people are like out here comparing YOIMIYA to like Ganyu's and maybe Hu Tao's, and I'm like, just compare her to other fucking people who are in her same kind of weird vibe. If it is like a jack of all trades, master of none argument, then compare her to Jeans and such, and you'll be like, what? So in 2 months, question 1, in 2 months, where do you think YOIMIYA will line up in terms of comparison between her all of the other people around her, in terms of 5 stars, and even some 4 stars, to be honest? Now, of course, the reason why I'm asking you this question is because for me, if I try to put myself in that position after Ball and after all these characters and after Ganyu gets rerun again or whatever it could be, maybe Garu comes out, all these things, I think YOIMIYA will be really, really low on the list of characters for especially DPSs, which to me are very, very important to be strong, because they are the tip of the spear, and if they are not strong, then it just feels like a really weird pick. With that being said, though, maybe Mihoyo was also like, well, wait, YOIMIYA is going to be able to be a DPS, but she's mainly going to shine as a elemental burst support DPS. Maybe, possibly, who knows? But again, where do you think she'll line up to other 5 stars and 4 stars in 2 months from now? And the reason why I say 2 months now, because a lot of people are loving YOIMIYA, and I don't want to take the fun away from you, which is kind of what I was worried about with this video. Because again, I am 100% going to invest in her, play her, enjoy her, all that stuff. So it's not, but I'm not that kind of player, and I'm genuinely trying to answer the question of what the hell is going on with this. The question, is she weak, and not give you guys another answer to a question that you didn't ask the question about, so good. Now, my second thing I want you to, my second point to really answer the question, is YOIMIYA weak, is if you were to give any other DPS slash burst DPS slash even support and main DPS like Jean and whatnot, if you were to compare her to any other person, even Shincho, even any person that you're going to give 270 or 240 crit damage or 230 crit damage like I've been seeing, if you're going to give any other character that level of investment, would you see more out of them? And I'm talking 4 stars. I'm not just having 5 stars in this case. I'm talking 4 stars as well. Yenfei comes to mind, all of those characters. And could you not get more out of them, whether that be, if YOIMIYA, by definition, is a burst damage dealer, could you not get more damage in a burst from other characters? Even main damage dealers, which to me is ludicrous, because the notion of why a burst DPS is even a burst DPS is because they have a shorter amount of time to deal more amounts of damage. And with the way Genshin is played off of, where there's wave-based survival, basically, that burst damage has a weakness. So yeah, even though you're popping off with Hu Tao, dealing massive big boy damage, it doesn't matter because the next wave is 10 minutes away, and that's when your cooldown ends, and you're going to be kind of stuck queuing up other abilities. And again, I think if you were to think about the level of investment that you're seeing from so many YouTube videos of like people having, yeah, a C0 YOIMIYA, but then a 5-star weapon that all is basically just made to scale up damage like mad. You also have a new artifact set that scales up your damage the most in the game, while shaving off her support capabilities, which kind of just flies in the face of her being a jack of all trades. And again, if you compare her to anybody else, even fairly like Jean's and such, Jean is the jack of all trades, but she does most things well. Now yes, YOIMIYA might be able to bridge the gap a little bit when it comes to Jean in terms of basic attack damage, but that's not even what Jean is necessarily supposed to do. So again, give the same investment to any other character. Also, build a team in the same way that you're building a team around YOIMIYA for any other main DPS, where you don't even have to have a cooldown period, which again, that's my biggest like don't know what the hell's happening kind of thing with YOIMIYA. If you were to give the same level of investment to any other character, would they be even a little bit better? And of course, let's be fair, put them to DPSs. Don't be comparing supports to supports, although again, you could compare her support ability to other support abilities. Also, we're talking about C0 here. I'm not talking about people ruining their lives wailing for this game. Yes. Now, with that being said, this comes to the other question of this video, is does YOIMIYA need a buff? It's an interesting question. Again, like I said, the problem with this, and this is a big problem, I think, MiHoYo still hasn't buffed or helped or readjusted other characters like Amber. So whenever you say, yes, I think YOIMIYA needs a buff, other content creators and other people, validly so, will say, but wait, what about Amber? Amber needs her buff first. We don't want to have the 4 stars lagging behind, which I think is a fair argument, it's fair discussion. I would say there's some discussion about the like investment for reward. You know what I mean? Like if you're gonna have the debate or if you're gonna hold the position of us people who are spending or are whaling in the game are supporting free-to-plays to have other content, i.e. Events, new characters, free characters on occasion, then you also have to hold the argument of if people are wishing for a 5-star character and then are supporting the game, those people who are attaining the said 5-star character should be made to feel like they've got a just deal, like they've gotten a good deal, or they have gotten their money's worth out of a thing. Because if they don't feel good, then arguably they won't spend money in the game, and therefore the whole thing will collapse, even though MiHoYo has made billions, so this argument has always been a little dicey for me. But if you're going to hold that position, I think it's only fair to hold the position of, I think 5 stars who people have invested higher degrees of wealth or higher degrees of time and saving, they should be performing at least on the same level as certain 4-star characters like them. So I think we're in a dicey situation, my friends. MiHoYo has shown themselves not to really be into the whole buffing thing unless there is mass backlash, such as Zhongli, which a lot of people would agree with is, he was really, especially with the new artifact set, the middle of the set that came out, he probably would have been absolutely tip-top. But it is nice, again, but the thing is, I think it's fine. Like, I think Zhongli shredding some physical DPS by 25% didn't absolutely nuke the game, you know, unlike Ganyu, which some could argue did. So for me, I don't mind the readjustment. So again, that begs the question, well, if there was a buff, if MiHoYo decided, yeah, maybe people are upset, maybe this character didn't really line up compared to other characters, maybe she's listed as one of the weaker characters, and as much as, you know, Chi-Chi, she's a support character, can be that way, main DPSs shouldn't necessarily be that way, because they're supposed to be the character you're going to be playing and going to be pushing you through the content. But let's level that character up. What would you do, Grin? How would you level up YOIMIYA? Well, the thing about YOIMIYA, guys, is I don't think YOIMIYA needs a tremendous amount of help. Because, right, I think as long as YOIMIYA is like A tier without like a 5-star weapon, without all of this excessive help, and without building a team specifically around everything about her, where your support DPS is making up for like 80% of what you should be dealing. Again, the argument about she needing help with teams is a weird one for me, just because that's a lot of help anyways. I don't think YOIMIYA is so offset, I know, shockingly enough, but I also don't want her to be a Ganyu 2.0. To me, all I want from YOIMIYA, I'm fine if she is upper A tier or whatever, anything like that, or not even upper A tier, just A tier or maybe upper B tier, something like that. I don't think she's that right now. So, what would I do? I don't want her to be the next Ganyu. I think she just could use some more help. The only things I would honestly change is I would change her E to just be a little bit longer, because it does feel like as soon as you get cooking, you're smacked down and you get messed up. Like you can't even utilize it. The second thing is I would give YOIMIYA's charge attack any purpose, because it is one of the coolest things in the game visually, and it is the most useless. Whether that is debuffing people to what do you call it, debuffing people to pyro, that way if the argument is that she's a burst DPS but also supports her team very well, then perfect. Let her support her team very well by using charge attacks. And if you're able to land all 3 of her charge attack on an enemy, that weakens enemies to phys or to pyro damage, making her, yes, a burst DPS, but also just a really good support DPS as well for fire characters specifically. Awesome. Great. That to me, or anything like that, even if they were just to give her charge attack any bite to where it actually feels like on the downtime of using YOIMIYA's abilities, you could actually use her charge attack to supplement damage so that she isn't a burst damage dealer that needs to switch off and be used, even though that's the way she's kind of built in general. So I'm just hoping for the debuff so that kind of has some utility, and hopefully it's not on a super short cooldown so that it can be utilized. Anyways, and then the third thing I would change with YOIMIYA is I wouldn't give YOIMIYA absolutely no chance to detonate her ult. I would give her a very, very, very low chance to detonate her ult, also giving more utility to her first constellation, which is in the realm of people getting, which would essentially give, because it gives YOIMIYA a bonus attack when you use her ult, which also just buffs up her ult's damage because attack scales off of that as well. So yeah, I would go about it like that. But yeah, I would take off her ult ability to just say, no, YOIMIYA cannot trigger this at all. I think it just should be like 0.5%, something super small, but at least there's a chance, especially with how quickly you're firing with her, and as long as you're building like her to have some shield so where she doesn't have to stop attacking, so she has many chances to flip that coin, that would be awesome. But yes, honestly, if there was just any buff I could ask for YOIMIYA, just give her charge attack something. As some people argue that her E is fine, I just want her charge attack to have some point. Because again, I don't mind playing characters that are B tier. Again, that's like, it's kind of flying in the face of this whole video. My discussion with this video is not whether I'm going to love and have fun using a fun character. My argument or debate or discussion is if we're going to genuinely try to answer the question of is YOIMIYA bad, we need to first establish rules for comparison and how they're valid. And then we second need to ask questions about why she doesn't measure up to other characters. And I've hopefully done that. Even though this video is probably far too long, and hopefully I can trim it down to some extent for the core principle and argument that I'm trying to talk about. Bottom line, do I hope YOIMIYA gets a buff? Yes. Will she? Probably not, unfortunately, unless people really, really want it or cherish it. And who knows, maybe people are absolutely dead ass right. When a certain character in the future comes out, she's going to be unleashed, quote unquote. So yeah, maybe, possibly. I don't think it addresses her core problems. Reapplying elements far too fast. But we'll see, my friends. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for putting up with me. Best of luck with your day. If you manage to like or favorite or share this video around, much love. Yes, I probably will get shit on because there's a lot of people that love this character, and again, I love her too, boys. I'm not taking off my YOIMIYA simp cap, all right? As horrific as it may be, I'm still going to play and enjoy the character. But if we're going to genuinely ask the question of where she is going to scale up or be positioned in the next coming months, I don't think it's going to be particularly high on the totem pole. And I damn well hope that her charge attack gets fixed, because to me it just feels like one of the biggest sins in the game is for something to look so cool but to be so fucking useless and pointless. That feels like a not good, not worth. Anywho, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for sharing this video around if you did so, or liking it. My name is GRINN. We make content on the channel. Don't forgive me if I came for your waifu. She is mine as well in a weird way. So yeah, anywho, hopefully you enjoy the rest of your day. Much love and goodbye, my friends.